we're going to the G League. We're talking Sidy Cissoko. Look at him. This is a shooting guard. He's probably more of a 2-3. He's just turned 19. He's 6'5". He's probably going in the 20s in a lot of different spots for the draft. He shot 57 true shooting, which is pretty strong. 3-point shooting, 31%, not particularly good, but what I look at in those period 36 numbers, steals, great, blocks, great, nice assists. All that is really, really strong. Being the prototypical wing prospect who's doing rim protection, on-ball defense, passing, facilitation, some shooting upside, but good size, good length, good defensive profile. These are the sort of players that become coveted in the NBA. Look at all the talk of, hey, what can Mikal Bridges do? What can OG Anunoby do? What can they bring back in trades? And Bridges obviously showed more offensive flash this season, but previously he's just been a low-usage defensive wing, exactly like Anunoby has been as well. And those sort of players who often go in this area of the draft do become hyper-useful in the NBA. Sissoko's a little bit shorter especially than Anunoby at 6'5", but how high are you viewing him? Are you talking... I would consider him as a lottery player. Like, what are you looking at here with Cissoko?
Yes, I do consider him as a lottery player. And I actually want to, I'm sorry, what I have seen is that those measurements understate him a little bit. Because what I saw at the combine is that he was 6'5.5" in socks. So in shoes, he's between 6'6", 6'7". And weight, that's the bigger one because he is... unless that's if that's not pounds, that might be different.
No,
but
that is pounds. It's from a Tankathon. Let me have a look if there's any updated weight.
Yeah. If you watch this kid, I mean, he might be 176, from the waist down.
Well, that's crazy.
He's a big boy.
Real GM lists him at 200, and Tankathon's got him at 176. That is a gigantic discrepancy.
And
also,
I actually think that Real GM is underestimating him as well. I think at the combine, he weighed in closer to like 210, 220.
Wow. And Real GM's got him at 6'7" as well. So in the end, he's just something. He's a height and he's a weight. What it is, I don't know. He weighs something.
The reason I bring it up is that his strength is a big appeal to him as a prospect, a big part of his appeal, I should say, because he is you mentioned it with the defensive counting stats. He is a very, very, very good wing defender. And playing in the G League at age 18 through the whole year, you see the age there, 19-1 now, meant that he was playing guys older than him, a lot of whom have, spent multiple years in college or maybe have gotten cups of coffee in the NBA. And he was the Ignite's best overall defender to my eye, which means he was taking the best, player on the opposite court a lot. And he is very, very competitive, and he has very good instincts, in my opinion, on both sides of the ball. On offense, the shot is developing. That's his question. That's why he's likely to go in the 20s as opposed to any higher than that. But as a driver and passer, I think as he was asked to be a connecting piece off of Scoot, and he would constantly make what I thought were pretty advanced, smart, clever passing reads. Not just, I'm going to swing it to the corner when I, am above the break, or I'm just going to drive and kick it out. He would make very good interior passes, very creative ways to get defenders to commit to him by driving into them and using his strength, forcing the help to create an open window. And as a shooter, it would go up and down, but he was not someone who was just stuck in the corners, which is a big thing for me. He showed some shot versatility, shooting above the break. And because he's so strong and thick, when the shot would go in, it would look pretty easy. It looked like it would translate to NBA range. And though it's, he's 19 years old, so it's going to take a little bit of time, I think that he will be able to force his way onto the floor with how he reads the game on offense and defense. And that from there, the shot, I'm betting on it improving. A bet on CD is a bet on his shot. But once that shot comes along, he's going to be able to guard very, very good NBA players. And that's very, very valuable.
There's a 5-game stretch for him at the end of February, which I think is when Scoot was injured, where he scored 20 points per game in 5 consecutive games. He had 23 6 and 6, 24 6 and 4, 22 6 and 3, 22 2 and 5, 20 1 and 5, and he had a steal in every one of those games, and one game with 4 steals, one game with 3 steals. And those last 2 games, 22 2 and 5, 4 steals and a block, 21 and 5, 3 steals and a block. Like, they're insane numbers. Like, they're ridiculously big numbers. Now, it did taper off after that, but that's a really strong stretch where he got tasked with a larger role, more minutes, more usage, and came through and was able to do all those things. And scaling up is always important. Like I talked during the regular season of the NBA, like, okay, there's opportunities here. Patrick Williams, DeMar DeRozan's out. Can you do anything? No. Like, nothing changed. Like, you weren't able to scale up your role at all. You still did the same thing. You were passive and you had no usage. And that always gives me red flags in terms of how do you develop moving forward when you're given the opportunity, you don't actually change anything about your game. But it looks here that in this opportunity, he was given the extra role and it worked out really well for him, and he was able to put up these numbers. And that sort of size and that sort of defensive ability on the wing with some scalability and some offensive upside, it's really, really valuable. And it is surprising to see, like, some people have got him like in the 30s in drafts, which that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and if you compare him to like other wings in the class, they're going to go high. Compare him to, say, Cam Whitmore, who's another excellent athlete, who's maybe a little shorter than you'd want him to be, but, nuclear athlete, things like that. Sidy is a much, much, much better passer than Whitmore is. He just is. And I think he has more polish as a defender. You can prefer Whitmore's talent and potential as a defender, and I think Whitmore's a more promising shooter. But in terms of, those two areas of the game, being a connecting passer, keeping an offense moving, finding good shots, even if you're not cooking, and being able to check really good players, like, I think he's right there with them. And so when you start to do that, if you imagine if Sidy had played in NCAA this year, his steal and block rates would be excellent. His assist numbers would be excellent, and his team would probably be very good because of how aggressive he is, to your point about, passivity versus aggressiveness. I wouldn't quite put him in the sort of Jeremy Sohan tier of confidence among guys who have iffy jumpers. Sohan really stands alone over the last few drafts for, how highly he thought of his own game. But Sidy plays very passionately. Plays really hard every game, and will fit in with a locker room and, again, force his way to minutes because of that.
We'll get back and talk.